It's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I just want to remind everybody to please silence your cell phones, and if you come up to speak at the podium, just a reminder that we are being videotaped, so you will be part of our meeting. Ken, roll call.
Blackburn.
Present.
Hageman.
I am here.
Hedge.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Craybill. Mashigian.
Here.
All right, that's a quorum of 6.
Thank you.
I will wanted to introduce Alana Knox. She is here. She is with Dirk's firm, and she is representing us today. Dirk had a prior commitment, so everyone say hello to Alana. And Yevgeny had a last-minute emergency, so he is not here. I will be handling the minutes. And finally, Rebecca Kraft is not here yet from the library, and so I'm not sure where that's going. We'll get there when we get there.
If she shows up at any point, we'll try to come back to her if we need to. Next is the approval of the agenda. Should I
Yeah.
add now?
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to add under, amend the agenda under ongoing business. I'd like to add C, mobile watch signage. And so with that amendment, I would ask for an approval of the amended agenda, or a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So move as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is the approval of the regular council meeting minutes from July 22nd, 2024. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the council minutes from July 22nd, 24.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is the president's message, and we received a letter asking council to accept an invitation to join a community-driven collaboration declaring September 2024 as National Recovery Month and National Suicide Prevention Month. Oakland Community Health Network, along with its service provider network, is hosting events throughout September to promote community awareness of substance use disorders and suicide prevention. As part of this effort, we are asking cities, townships, villages, school boards, and faith-based organizations throughout Oakland County to partner with us by approving the included proclamations for September as National Recovery Month and National Suicide Prevention Month at our meeting. So with that, be it resolved that Oakland Community Health Network hereby recognizes September 2024 as National Recovery Month. OCHN calls upon individuals, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of substance use, and the need for appropriate and accessible services to promote recovery. And be it resolved that Oakland County Health Network hereby recognizes September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention Month. OCHN calls upon our individuals, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, faith-based organizations, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of suicide prevention and the need for appropriate and accessible services to assist individuals in crisis. So we wanted to read it instead of at our September meeting, which is at the end of September. We wanted to read it now to have everybody please keep in mind these two important initiatives throughout the month of September.
What about putting something on our website, honoring, acknowledging?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the copies of that, so I'll do it.
Thank you.
Sure.
You can have that.
No, thanks.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. next is public comments not on the published agenda. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to discussion topics, which the Police Department monthly report is first, and our new chief, Kurt Lawson, is here to present.
Well, good evening. It's great to see everybody again. It's been a little while. I guess first I'd like to publicly say thank you to Chief Roberts. As all of you know, he retired on Thursday after 12 years of leading the police department, and I gotta say he did a fantastic job. One of you said it last time I was here that I have some big shoes to fill, and I agree with you. So he's been fabulous over the last 7.5 months, helping me out, getting me acclimated to the way Franklin Bingham Farms does everything. And so I feel very prepared to move forward and assist the department as we grow and as we continue down the road that he set. Secondly, we're still trying to recruit another officer for our 12th position. That'll be the last position that we have to fill, so I'm excited about that. We did have one recruit that we were excited about, but he didn't make it through the background process, so we're still out recruiting. I've tasked Officer Kevin O'Shea, if any of you know him. He's a young guy, he's great, very articulate, and he's gonna go to several colleges over this next month to try to find the right person for our department. And with that, I would just like to let all of you know that my cell phone is on 24/7. If any of you have any questions or you want to call me, always feel free or to meet with me. I'd love to answer any of your questions or talk to you, get to know you. So with that, if there's any questions about the monthly, I'll take them.
I do have a question.
Okay.
In the past, there have been these gangs that have been traveling through. Is there any activity in the area?
So interesting enough, just last week I attended the Gang Task Southeast. It's a South American Gang Task Force in Troy, and the Troy Police Department had arrested a gang just about August 1st, and we did learn a lot of intelligence about the organization and how they kind of flow in and out of the state of Michigan. How many different task force or gangs are out there. So some of it I can't really share publicly, but we definitely gained some intelligence and we know kind of what to look for. And we have to rely really on our patrol officers to be vigilant and our residents to give us a call if they see anything suspicious. But as of right now, there's no current activity that we know about in Michigan or certainly in Franklin or Bingham Farms.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
A couple of months ago, there was a domestic incident in Bingham Farms, and 2 shots apparently were fired, as I recall, and there was some concern about reporting from the police to the village, and you indicated at a prior meeting that you would, work on trying to smooth out the procedures and all. I just wonder if you had an update on that.
I can give you an update on the fact that I guarantee you that you'll be hearing from me if any incident like that happens in the future. I was the public information officer for not only West Bloomfield Police Department, but for the township itself. So I certainly have no hesitation to reach out to you or to the news media to update them on what's going on. So we didn't do our best job that day, but moving forward, I think you'll be pretty satisfied with it. We're really making a push right now with social media. We've been on Facebook for quite a while. We just joined Instagram, and we're going to be pushing a lot of information out to those platforms. So it's just getting the residents used to going on those platforms and liking us, and they'll see a lot of information there.
So those are the platforms you would intend to use if there was,
Yes.
God forbid, some kind of future
In the
incident?
past, I've used Nixle as a good platform. There's also Code Red. Those are all great options, but again, you have to get your residents to sign up for them. And even in West Bloomfield, 67,000 residents, and we only had 5,000 people that signed up. So social media, in my opinion, is kind of the way to go. So we'll really be getting that information out there for everyone to just click like on us, and you'll be seeing some updates almost on a daily basis.
Chief, the demographic in Bingham Farms and Franklin is a rather high age.
Yes.
And if you hadn't said something, I just don't go every day and try to get on Instagram. It's just not.
Right.
So how do we actually get residents to know about it, how to use it, how to feel comfortable with it? I mean.
Right. So usually it's an older crowd that enjoys Facebook and a younger crowd that enjoys Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we've gone to those 2 platforms. sometime in the future, if we don't reach enough residents, we will look at another platform like Nixle or Code Red. But right now, I'm not ready to spend the money for Code Red, so we're just gonna see how this rolls out. But I'd welcome your suggestions on how we can kind of bridge that gap in the future.
Well, again, our website is Kathy. The more we can have people rely on that.
Okay,
And
sure.
so maybe just what your Facebook address is and how, if you don't have an account, who they call to set up an account.
Sure.
I mean,
Or initiate it by having a raffle, and you have to log on to be in the raffle, and then pull their name out of something, so they win something.
I think that's a great idea. We can have the fire department come to their house and cook for them. It'd be fantastic.
oh, that's the best food in
I
town.
think Tony'd love to do that.
I'll address that in my remarks.
Well, I think you have to start somewhere. We all have to start somewhere. And,
Yeah.
we can, Diane's a marketing genius over here. She can figure a good avenue to get the word out.
Okay, I'd love to hear your suggestions. So,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Fire Chief Everbeck.
Please refer to me as sous chef. I'll be using his credit card to pay for the food that I'll be using to cook.
Looking
So,
forward to it.
you have our written report. We continue to work on our annual inspections and testing. Wanted to thank JFK Investments who allowed us to use their parking lot last Tuesday. We tested over 11,000 feet of fire hose. They did, not we. I'll give credit where credit is due. And 300 feet of ground ladders in addition to our aerial ladder, which was tested at the fire station. So everything passed. We had no issues that I've been made aware of. And so we'll move on. What remains for this year will be fire pump testing, and that will be taking place in the fall. Other than that, our run volume has had a little bit of an uptick in the Bingham Woods area. And I'm trying to get an understanding of that, but until I can see a trend where I can follow with something, it is what it is. So with that said, and pending your questions, that will conclude my report.
Are you referring to the fire, smoke alarms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had a number. The interesting, you had talked about with the police side with reference to obtaining access to Facebook and Instagram. I think one of the things that would really be beneficial for the fire department is with the false alarms, to actually have the residents understand how their alarm works and how they can cancel us from going. Because that's not happening. It happens a little bit, but whenever there's a fire alarm and people are leaving their homes, their businesses, when we're driving with lights and sirens and things like that, it's just, these are potential liabilities that I'd rather not have.
Well,
Yes.
are people getting, I thought it was my understanding, after you had a couple of them, people got invoiced. Is that happening?
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So are people paying the invoices? Or actually, what is the number? Because I know there was one house that had it twice last week, it seemed like it
Yeah, I
was.
believe it's 2 according to the ordinance, 2 per calendar year. But there's 191 residences. So there's some things that need to be, I think, looked at. Number one is education of the residents. And not just Bingham Woods, that's everywhere.
Right.
How does your alarm work? Do you have an alarm? In some cases, we found some of the residences had 2 systems
Right.
that they didn't know about.
Right.
So it's just, how does it work? But the second is dealing more with, and this is with everyone, systems have defined lifespans, sensors have defined lifespans. Any work that's done to create dust situations like floors or walls creates potential scenarios where alarms can either false or they cannot operate when needed. So it's just getting an appreciation of maintenance and
Okay.
requirements and knowledge. So, yes.
When you commented that some people didn't know they had 2 alarm systems,
Yes.
is that because you actually provide
No.
inspection?
No. No, it's because
Just check.
this is with reference to Bingham Woods specifically.
Okay.
Some of the units years ago had their own system, and then the board of the association
Mhm.
and Debbie would be better at answering this than I, but there was a point where the condo board decided that everyone would have a system, that the condo board would specify the system and the vendor, and every residence got another system. So those numbers are in single digits if there are any left, but we've come upon situations where people have had the system, and in some cases they've been paying for 2 monitoring services. So it's just something as simple as look at your bill, see what you're paying for. If you don't understand it, you'll have to figure it out. So, but other than that, though, this is nothing. Not going to stop traffic over something like this, but it is something to warrant a little bit of education. Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
No. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
This is Rebecca Kraft from the library.
Hi.
I'm going to help you hook this up.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
we'll get it right.
Yeah.
Let me see what you
I have the HDMI.
This one here? You know what you're doing. Right here?
Yep.
No.
Oh,
right.
this
Maybe-
one.
Oh, that one. Okay, now let's see if we can turn this on.
I brought pictures because those pictures are more fun. So,
Life's good.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
We do have a small table somewhere, if it'd be easier. I don't know if
It's
it'd be
right there.
easier for you to sit down or
I'll
not.
just stand up. It's
Okay. Okay.
So I'm the library director at Baldwin. I've been there for about 4 years. And let's see. So we Bingham Farms contracts with the library. So you pay a yearly fee for it. I believe it's around $129,000. We just sent out the quarterly bill last week. So that's going well, and I work with Ken regularly. We checked our statistics for the last year. There's 517 cardholders. That's up over 100 over last year, which is great. And there's also 14 employees who are cardholders. That's one thing that most people don't realize. If you work in Bingham Farms, you can get a library card through us. Very similar to a resident card. It just expires after 1 year. And then residents and employees checked out 5,732 items in the last year. We have lots of materials. We have lots of programs. Our goals are equitable and inclusive customer service, retaining and hiring quality personnel. This year we're working on updating our website to be more accessible and user-friendly, and we're always looking to add new users to the library. This year we'll also be updating our security camera system to keep our technology up to date. We continue to have a ton of collections. And one thing I like to point out, we will buy anything you want. So if we don't have it and you want it, let us know. There's a purchase suggestion form on our website, so we can fill that out, or you can fill that out, suggest it to us. We can either buy it or get it from another library for you. So lots of people do that. If there's something interesting or unique that you don't see in our collection, let us know, and it lets us know the popular authors and subjects that our patrons are looking for. Another thing to highlight is our home delivery service. We mail out materials to people who cannot get to the library physically. So they come in a big canvas bag, probably the size of my laptop, and we put the books in, we mail it to the person's home, and then there's a return address that's addressed with postage. And so when you're done with the materials, just zip up the bag, flip it over, give it to your mail carrier, and it will come back to us. So we do that for about 60 different people each month. It can be a permanent reason why you're not able to leave your home. It could be temporary, like a pregnancy or a broken hip or something. So that's very common. And then we have lots of online databases. Value Line and Morningstar are our investment databases, and those are quite popular with people. Mango Language Learning, if you're a crafty or an artsy kind of person, Creative Bug does video lessons for tutorials for different projects. And hobbies like that. We are dedicated to helping students in the community, so we have liaisons with all the public and private schools in the area. So we come and we do Battle of the Books for our 4th and 5th graders. We do first grade first card visits to introduce all elementary students to the library. Second graders come to our library and take local history tours, and then we work with the middle school and high school students. So we're very dedicated to that. New at Baldwin this year, we have a book bike. Our Friends President Randy Carney there is standing with the book bike. So we bring that to the farmers market. We brought it to the Touch a Truck event that was held in Bingham a few months ago. And then we just bring it to events to tell people about the library. One of my favorite collections is the new Best Bets collection. It's if you're coming to the library and you want something to read but you're not sure what you want to read, we've collected over 100 different titles that people love. So everyone has a favorite title in that collection. So if you see it on that shelf, at least 5 people have liked it and enjoyed it. So that's great. We're adding a library of things. So those are materials that you can take home. We're adding a record player to that, some video game machines. There's some memory kits for people just to help them remember. As I'm forgetting what a memory kit is, oh my goodness, I should use it. So it helps people look at older items and jog their memory, not flag, jog their memory about things and get them talking. So we've got 5 of those coming and lots more things. So those are coming in a couple weeks. We added online access to the Wall Street Journal, so you can read that from your home, and then Press Reader. That has over 100 different newspapers, online newspapers from around the world and the US. And our most popular publication on that is The Economist. So you can read that online too. And we are dedicated to working with Bingham Farms. Our library newsletter is mailed quarterly to all residents here. We have the book return box here in the lending library in the office. And then Kathy attends our board meetings and shares updates and events in the village mailings. So we're happy to do that. And then my favorite part, the reason why I wanted to bring pictures, we just finished our 13-month renovation. It went on a few months longer than I would have liked, but it's all finished. So we added a street level entrance to the library that includes a 2,000 square foot addition and then an interior renovation of 3,000 square feet. And so when you walk in the front door, you no longer have to go up the steps right away. There's an elevator in just to the left of the door that'll take you up to the main level. There's also an indoor ramp. So if you're used to using the old ramp, you don't have to walk through that in a snowstorm when it's icy or anything like that. So it's all safe and inside. You can return items in the outdoor return slot just outside the door too. And then we have a new plaza outside with native plantings. We relocated the Marshall Frederick Siberian ram sculpture to that. There's shade trees, outdoor seating, and we'll be able to do programs outside there. And then my favorite part is the door that opens. So this entire wall opens up. It's 13 feet tall, so we can have people inside and outside the library using the space. We call it our atrium, so there's self-serve snacks in our vending machines, study tables, and then we can use this for event space after hours. And then we updated our access services section. So as soon as you walk up the stairs, there's the information desk. You can check out materials, you can pick up your holds. We have our hot picks collection. Those are all new items with a one or 2 week checkout. So you can find things that are available right away. And then our self-check machines. So you can use the machines and then leave without having to wait in line. Although I will say we are one of the libraries, we've tried to have people use self-check machines and they much prefer to talk to our staff. So we love having friendly staff up there to chat with people too. And then as you walk further in the library, we have our gallery area with the Friends of the Library used bookshop. The Friends donate about $50,000 to the library each year, and we're happy to have their support, and you can shop for used books and media in their sales space there. And then we also added 4 new study rooms, and those are great for 1 or 2 people. It's a table, a wide table with outlets, and then a white blackboard if you need to use that. So we have lots of people who use that for business meetings, Zoom calls, and tutoring. Finally, our open house to celebrate the grand opening will be held Sunday, September 15th from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So we invite you to join us there. And we're happy to continue partnering with Bingham Farms and to deliver library services to you. This year we'll be doing 2 upgrades to our building, a new loading dock and then a new roof, and those are paid for by the city of Birmingham. So we're always looking to improve our services, take suggestions, including book suggestions, and do whatever you need to make us more helpful for your community. Kathy, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the Idea Lab?
Yes, the
One of
Idea
my
Lab.
favorite things.
Oh yeah, is our makerspace. So we doubled it in size 2 years ago, and it has several 3D printers, like 9 3D printers. It has a laser cutter and engraver. The favorite gift that I've seen people use, they'll come in for holiday gifts and engrave a cutting board with, Rebecca's Kitchen, or there was a grandmother who would make blocks for all her grandchildren. So it would be a one block, and one side would have a footprint, like the baby's actual footprint engraved. One side their weight and their length and their height and their birth date and their name. So just a very nice personalized gift. We have an embroidery machine that's new this year, and it has it can now embroider on hats in 15 different colors. It can do large tote bags, t-shirts, towels. We have a vinyl cutter, so if you need signs for glass or a wall, we can cut that out custom for you. We do format conversion, so if you have any home movies or tapes or recordings or slides, we can convert those for you. So that would be like 8mm film, 16mm film, VHS, beta, CDs. We can do all those kinds of formats for you. And yeah, those are the big 4 that we have. So, and it's great. You can anyone can use it. You can make an appointment or to come in and work on a project. We had someone come in last week. They had a hand-carved wooden cane that they found in Australia, and it was like a little bit too short, and they were worried about the tip of the cane scratching their wood floor. So they were able to print a rubber tip for it that fit on it custom. So we can troubleshoot lots of different issues like that for you.
It's an amazing place.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is part of it is still the old traditional library. It's like going into something back in the 1800s.
It is, yeah.
I know,
So it was the original
Yeah.
1927 building.
Yeah.
There's like the leaded glass. Some of the window panes are new, but yeah, it's beautiful.
And then you go to the new, which is where I take my grandkids.
Yes, yeah.
And it's just inspiring. It's stimulating and wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. How do you use the Franklin? How do you check out something from the Franklin Library if you have a library card? But every time I go online, like to put something on hold or so, I never can get to Franklin. But yet people in our neighborhood
Okay.
use the Franklin.
So we belong to a group of libraries
Right.
called the Library Network. They shorten it to TLN. So the first time you should take your Baldwin card with you to the Franklin Library and say, I'd like to check out materials here. They can register your Baldwin card in their Franklin account, and then you can start using it. So I think once you have an account with Franklin, with your Baldwin card, you can go online and use their materials.
Okay.
Some libraries, if it's not your home library, they don't let you place holds.
Right.
So that might be the case too.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Rebecca, the people that use the home delivery service, you said there are 60 people a month. That's not 60 people in Bingham, right? That's 60
No,
total?
60 total people.
All right.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
So you're looking to expand that if possible?
Yeah, if there's need for it,
Okay.
absolutely.
All
Yep,
right.
yep.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I was gonna suggest, I don't know, maybe it's already in there, but with our business license notices
Yeah.
to make sure that people realize they can have access to the library.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So add that in. Okay, next is the manager's report.
Yeah, I just wanted to go over a couple of things with everybody. You may or may not know Roger Frazier in Franklin is retiring in October. His replacement has been selected, I guess, but the name has not been announced yet. I don't know who it is. And in Beverly Hills, village manager Jeff Campbell resigned. His last day was July 31st. The village president, John George, is filling in while an interim is sought. So between the three villages, I am the 57-year-old old man, apparently. And the other thing I want to, it's in the report, and I want to just bring this up and mention this. I've gotten a lot of calls lately about deer in the village, and people suggesting that maybe we sponsor or fund some sort of deer cull. I know this has come up in the past from time to time, and it's come up in a lot of communities, frankly. There are deer from here to Detroit. I can attest to that. They're everywhere. So I'm not sure how to, I'm investigating, but I don't, just want you all to be aware in case you hear something out there as well. You can always just tell them to give me a ring. I'd like to be happy to hear people's thoughts. And that's all I have to say.
Well, I can tell you if they eat any more of my wife's flowers, she'll be willing to do the culling process for free.
All right.
Are there any questions for Ken?
Yes, Ken,
Yes.
are you aware of any village that has taken action on a deer call?
Not village, but
Or
other communities. I know that Ann Arbor has undertaken something. I don't know exactly what, but it proves to be controversial because there are folks that are on both sides of the issue.
Absolutely.
And other communities have. I'm just starting to look into this in depth, so I can't really give you a detailed answer right now, but I will in a couple weeks.
Grosse Seal has done it.
What's that?
Grosse Seal has done
Gross.
it.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah. That's a separate little, because it's an island. It's a little different containment and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely something that gets done, but it is very controversial. So thank you for continuing to look into that. We will wait till you find out more details. We are going to, unless, I don't think that Evgeny had anything for his report. Do you have
I'm
anything?
not sure. I
So-
don't want to speak out of turn.
Right, okay. So we will move on to new business, which I am going to let Trustee Jones handle the introduction for that.
Thanks. You've had in the last couple of weekly memos, some materials that I put together, and they're also in your package, so I'm not gonna read everything word for word, because hopefully you've had, a chance to look at it. Basically, when we passed the road proposal, we did it on the same meeting as we did the budget, and so the people who were doing the budget didn't know what was gonna be in the road proposal. And so I'm making a couple of recommendations and things we should now change in the budget to make sure that the budget sort of matches up with what we already passed. It's not, I don't think these are, trying to change things. It's not my intent to try and change things. It's just my intent to try to match up what's in our budget with what we've already passed with regards to the road proposal. The other thing is that I don't think any of these things that I'm suggesting are irreversible. I mean, like 3 months from now, if a new council could decide they wanted to do something totally different, and they could do it if they wanted. I just would like for the budget to match what we passed in the road proposal. So, and third thing is that I met with both Bill and our auditor and talked about all three of these suggestions, and they're all doable according to Bill and our auditor. There's no objections from the auditor that said that we can't do them or anything like that. So with that in mind, the first one has to do with the fact that when the road committee went to its work, it asked Bill for a figure as to how much we have on hand already that we can use for the roads. And the figure that he came up with was $2,760,000. It was a couple of dollars below that, but just for clarity's sake, $2,760,000. And those funds are spread out over 3 funds in our budget. Some of them are in the general fund, and the assigned road projects fund. If you can see it was circled, it's 600,000 there. Others are in the local road fund. That was 643,738. And others were in the major road fund, 889,495. But if you add all those 3 up, they don't total $2,760,000. They're about $600,000 short. In fact, $626,767. And so what I'm proposing is that we move that figure, 626,767, from the unassigned fund, which appears on page A of the materials, and it's currently like $2,062,000. We move 600 and whatever I just said, $1,000 up a line, so that we actually have then reserved the $2,760,000 for the roads. Because if we don't do that, it makes it look like we have more in the unassigned fund than we really do, because we've already voted to use those funds for the roads. So that's the rationale behind the first one. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Is part of the intention of this too, to kind of just move it all into one thing, so therefore that fund cannot be, this is how I took it, is that, and I think it was a good idea that we move that into one fund, therefore when you're going through the budget, oh, we have this extra money. Well, no, we don't. It's here and it's for this particular
It's restricted.
project.
Exactly. And again, it can, somebody else can, a month from now, 6 months from now, they can change it. But right now, at least with the motion that we passed, it's really not unassigned. It has been assigned by our motion.
It's not sitting there in limbo. Now we're actually putting it here.
Right. And just so that people don't look at this and say, oh, we got $2 million in unassigned, we can take 1.8 million of that and do something else. Well, you really can't, because we've already assigned it.
We've already assigned it, right. And that's what I liked about this, is kind of just getting it there.
Exactly.
Well, it reflects good practices of accounting.
Yeah.
That everything sort of is where it belongs.
Right, I think so.
And so your expenses will be tracked directly against this new assigned or restricted fund.
Correct. What it'll do is the budget will not change the way that it is presented, and that you're able to point to it. It's in the buckets that make more sense of where it's at, so you can track it easier, and we know exactly what was used for, like the 1 mil increase that we have, right? I've created a draft of those, so that when we move it over, we know that 1 mil doesn't get lost in the translation throughout many line items within the budget.
Okay. Because when we were preparing the budget, remember I had asked that we do 2 versions. The one with, as it turned out, a 1 mil increase.
Correct.
And that's the version
that we passed.
We are going to be modifying.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. The one that you adopted in the June meeting will now be amended or reformatted to reflect trustees Jones's request.
Okay.
So we probably need a motion, right?
Oh, yeah.
So unless there are
We're
any
gonna do
questions.
separate, right?
Yeah.
You wanna do one at a time.
I'd like to do one at a time in case there's any objections to any of those. So I would move that we direct the treasurer to move $626,767 from the unassigned fund to the assigned road projects fund.
I would second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Or
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right.
Okay. The second one has to do with the 1 mil increase, Diane, that you were mentioning earlier. Again, this was something that we did do a 1 mil increase in the millage, and but what we didn't do is we didn't say like where the money is going to go. And my understanding of what this council passed was that 1 mil increase is supposed to go for the roads.
Yes.
Okay, so, but because we didn't even know what the road proposal was going to be when you guys worked on the
That's
budget, that's not in here. Okay, so what happens is on the general fund summary, under the line revenues over under expenditures, it looks like we've got a $403,000 surplus for the year. And that is not what we intended when we raised the millage. What we intended to do was to have this additional mill go towards the roads. So what I am suggesting is that we add a new expense line under the expenditures portion of this budget. And Raina suggested it be numbered 970 and called road project funding or something like that. And that we put on that line in the budget as an expense the $217,000 that represents the one additional mill. The thought process behind this is, again, we don't want people looking at $403,000 in surplus and thinking that that's all surplus, when in fact it's not. It's the 217 is supposed to go to the roads. So that's the reason for that request.
But it will still leave that revenue over under with about just under 200,000 remaining in
Correct.
that line.
It would be the amount that was in the original budget proposal, like
Okay.
186,000.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, 187,000 projected.
Does anybody have any other questions about that, or further explanation?
Can you make a motion?
Yes, I would. I would propose adding a new expenditures line to our budget, number 970, transfer to road projects fund, and to have the amount on that line be $217,294.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the third one is a little bit more complicated, and I may have made it a little bit more complicated than I needed to. So bear with me if I try to explain it. Part of the proposal 5, which is the proposal that basically we passed with some modifications, was that we were going to take the $150,000 that the council has been setting aside every year, and we've been putting it in the general roads fund. But the proposal was that, per our consultant's suggestion, we put that in a fund to maintain the roads. In other words, not do, complete repaving, but rather maintain them so that they'll last longer, is the idea behind that. And that was part of the proposal 5. And so what I'm basically suggesting that we do is add a new line under the fund balance designations for assigned road maintenance. And that would be the line where we would put this $150,000 a year that we've been using, in which the road commission suggested that we use for road maintenance as opposed to road, redoing the roads.
So in other words, it wouldn't be used for, or it'd be used for maintaining the roads other than the particular roads that we'd be working on at that particular time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, my original suggestion was also to, as you can see on the first page, is we have an assigned roads emergency fund. And in the 7 years I've been here, we've never used that fund. And given that we're redoing all the roads, have money set aside for it, I'm not sure that we will within the next, 3 or 4 years, because if there's, presumably we're gonna be redoing and we won't have any emergencies, so I was thinking we could rename that, the assigned road maintenance fund. But we don't really have to. We could leave that the same and just have a new fund with a zero balance if it makes more sense to do it that way to you guys.
Well, I think that it seems to me almost redundant that having a maintenance fund would take care of possibly unplanned, which is under the auspices of emergency.
Right, well, that's the way I wrote this proposal
Yeah.
up, was to do it as, to change the assigned road emergency fund to assigned road maintenance fund. And then, since the plan didn't anticipate having a $300,000 balance to start out with, the plan didn't anticipate having any balance, I've suggested we could move that $300,000 back down to the unassigned fund, and then just in the future, put in the 150,000. Like, for example, at the end of the audit, there'll be 150,000 we can put in from last year, and there'll be 150,000 we can put in at the end of this year. If that
So
means-
then we'll take the word emergency out and replace it with the word maintenance.
Right,
And then the unassigned will grow by 300,000.
right.
That's a more simpler bottom line
Yes,
of
yes.
what we're talking about.
Exactly, and I think the other change would be that if you see on the signed road projects line on that first page, there's $150,000 over on the far column. That would go up to the assigned road maintenance fund, because that 150,000 we would then put in the assigned road maintenance fund. And likewise, on page E, there was a notation that about $150,000 budget to be assigned to future road projects. We would change that to assign to future road maintenance.
Now, do we have to designate this, that it is not for the road work that we'll be doing through Proposal 5, but it is strictly for other roads?
I would think that it would be, you know.
I mean, well, we look at it that way, but do we need, I'm wondering is that kind of what we're trying to do here?
Yes, it is what we're
Okay.
trying to do. Yes, it is. And I think, I'm hoping that calling one fund assigned road maintenance and the other assigned road projects is sufficient enough to
To distinguish it? Okay.
Yeah. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So you're suggesting make that balance back to zero right now,
Right,
with the next budget year putting in the 150.
right.
So that money then goes to the road.
Well, the money that's in there now, is that what you're talking about?
There's what, 300,000 in there right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we would move that back to
Unassigned.
So
unassigned.
unassigned. Okay.
And then when the budget when the audit for the last year, the year ended June 30th, is done,
Closes.
closes, we could take the $150,000 from last year and put it into this assigned maintenance
Okay.
fund, and then likewise this year, the same. Does that make sense for everybody? I think that this is what we sort of decided when we voted on the road proposal.
That was my understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're making it, and again, to clarify, we're trying to make this so that it is strictly for road work, the road projects, not necessarily for anything else. And therefore, in putting it into this particular assignment,
Correct,
kind of justifies that.
correct.
Okay.
For example, the two concrete roads, we don't really, Plan 5 doesn't really consider redoing them at
No.
all. So maybe we would need to do some maintenance on them to keep them from,
Yeah, you might need a hunt that, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, how do we do?
I don't know that I wrote that in a motion form. Could I just move that we amend the budget per item 3 in the memo attached to our materials? Would that be sufficient, Ken, for you to be able to figure, and Bill, for you to be able to figure out what I'm suggesting?
And I can second that.
Okay, so
It's good.
Any further discussion?
let me just ask, I mean, there's a lot of rhetoric within this that's really not proper for that to be in a motion, is it? Because I do not think that we need, et cetera. You're
Right.
using these kind of words in here.
I'm just suggesting that the budget be changed per the suggested changes in that item, the rhetoric go in.
Okay, so that won't
No.
become part of the motion, all right. Okay. Kathy, you seconded?
I did.
That was first and second.
We had a first and second. We had discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Bill, does this help you then, once bills start coming in, to be able to pay out of the budget? Because you'd be pulling money out of that particular area?
It creates a specific fund that's easier to track, that anyone can pick it up, look at it and say, yep, we had road work on one of the, we cut a slab out of the cement and it was repatched and filled and it came out of the fund for the maintenance. So,
Okay.
yes,
Well,
it's
the
more
maintenance,
discreet.
but I'm also talking at the other too, because we're going to have, next 2-3 years, we're gonna have start bills coming in
Yes.
as we start. Is this gonna make that easier for you then to pay?
It'll make it easier. Well, it won't make it easier. It'll make it easier on everyone to make sure that it's tracked, comes out of the appropriate funds, and that you're able to audit against it.
Okay.
Maybe makes it a little more transparent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that Trustee Jones pointed out is, as the council changes, what we think that this is a good idea is that anyone can pick it up and know that, all right, we did the 1 mil increase, correct? Here it is. So that it's not somewhere throughout different funds within the budget. It's much more, there's more clarity and there's more concise that you can point to it and you can track and say, all right, there's no questions of where those funds are within those line items and for what purposes they're supposed to be used for.
That kind of boils down where I thought, great idea. So there were, it makes, as you said, more transparent. And I'm looking at just easier to pay bills and so forth, that you don't have to pull this one, then pull that one, then over here to pull this one, and somebody would look at it and go, wait a minute.
Correct.
So now it's all, okay. In that one area, okay.
Thank you so much for that.
No problem.
It's going to be really helpful moving forward, and I know it was a lot of work, so thank you.
Oh, we vote.
We did vote.
We did.
Oh, do we vote on the
Yeah.
last one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
okay.
unanimous.
I missed it.
That's where you said yes.
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 It's all done. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll move to ongoing business. We're going to start with the Road Special Assessment District Resolution Number 1. If Ms. Knox could help us with that.
Yes, so as this council no doubt knows, the council has decided to start the process of a road special assessment district. And our office has prepared a resolution, which is sort of the first step in that process. So you guys are at the very start of the SAD process. There are 2 ways to initiate an SAD process. One is by ballot proposal and the other is council initiated. So under your ordinances, you guys are choosing the council initiated process. So before you have a resolution which directs your city manager as well as your village manager as well as your village engineers to prepare a plan and a cost estimate pursuant to your ordinances for this special assessment district. So this is a rather lengthy process. There are 2 public hearings involved. So this is just the very first getting a plan together. And then the resolution contemplates, once you have the plan together, at that time, we'll come back before the village council and set the first public hearing on that plan and cost estimate. That's a very simplified version. If you have additional questions, I'd be more than happy to
I appreciate it being
answer
so
those.
clear and concise. Yes.
I do have one question. I'm sorry for even asking. So I didn't realize that Dirk wasn't going to be here today, or I would have tried to have done this beforehand. But in the third whereas clause, when it lists all the roads,
Yes.
2 of the roads that are listed are private roads.
3 of them.
Oh, 3 of them?
Woodland, Bingham Court, and you picked up what I had picked up.
Right. And Is Bingham Court private? I guess I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. But in
Yeah.
any event, I mean, we obviously can't do work on the private roads. And on the other hand, we wanted it included in the special assessment
Correct.
district
Because-
because we wanted it to be, that was the way we could make it one district and include from, I think was the.
That was the
I mean,
objective,
Question.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, when it says road reconstruction or improvements to the following roads, we really aren't doing improvements to Woodland Drive,
Bingham Court,
Point
yeah.
Drive, and so is it okay to leave it like that, or should there be like a separate,
This could be an actual item for those residents if they need their private road fixed. So I think we should modify that whereas.
yeah, I don't know if you want
And
to say like a separate whereas that says something like
Yeah.
whereas Woodland Drive, Bingham Court, and Bingham Point Drive will benefit from the improvements.
As they
Something
have
or-
direct access onto
Yeah.
them.
But not as part of the reconstruction.
Right.
Yeah.
The board,
Go ahead.
apologies, if the board would like to make that modification and clarify that within the resolution, the board is, or the council, apologies, and
No problem.
is welcome to make that
Yeah.
clear.
I think we would have
That's a
to
good
because
idea.
those roads are not state certified.
But those roads, I think you were gonna say.
No, I was gonna say, let's give Alana an opportunity to answer the question.
Okay.
That's all.
So it's my understanding, and maybe the verbiage isn't correct, but that because those three roads do use a public road to get to their road,
Correct.
Necessity, it's public necessity that is the determining factor rather than the status of the road.
I
okay,
like that word.
right, and so it's public necessity
Yes.
that they be included in the SAD process because we're going to be asking them to contribute because they,
That's correct.
right.
So they are included in the district. My point was if the board would like to clarify what work is to be done on what roads, that's appropriate. But the reason that they're in the district is because the determining factor of an SAD is public necessity. So when I was talking about those public hearings, you guys, the council will have
No problem.
will have the engineers prepare a report with the cost estimate with the full scope for the project. And then the first public hearing that will be called is on public necessity. So that is a process, that is the determining factor. And you guys will make a determination on public necessity at that time, once you see the report. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So there was some talk about what the residents on the private roads would pay that connect to Bingham Road. Was that finalized or is
No.
that still
No,
discussion?
no.
We're still
That's-
discussing?
That's still up.
This is the determination, this is essentially the council asking city manager and the city engineers to answer that exact question. What is the scope of the project? What work needs to be done, the appropriate plans, and coming to the council with an estimate of what that's going to cost and
Right.
what payments will need to be made. So early days on this, but that question will be answered with that report.
Thank you.
So we wait for the report and then we discuss.
Yes, so just to kind of clarify the timeline, you guys are on direction to prepare plans, and then you'll file the report, then you'll call the public hearing on necessity. So that's you're gonna have your first public hearing, and then after that public hearing, you'll make a determination based on all of the information, your engineer's report. I'm sure the city manager will have, village manager will have commentary, obviously the public will have commentary, and then you can make the determination of public necessity, and it goes on from there. So this is the very first part of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So back to the whereas.
Yes.
Do we at this stage need to modify?
Yes. I think we do.
Mm-hmm.
You do not, you do not need to. If the council would like to add a clarifying verbiage to the resolution.
This almost implies that those roads
Yeah.
will be
I'm a little more comfortable
reconstruction
with that.
and or improvement.
Yeah.
And they will not be touched because they are private.
They will be in the special assessment district.
Yeah.
It will be
But
but
not under construction.
not under construction.
So the third whereas where it says the proposed project is the road reconstruction and or improvement to the following roads. Well, it's not reconstruction
Right.
and or improvement to those three following roads, Woodland, Shagwood, and Bingham Court.
No, Bingham Point and
Bingham Point,
I'm
Court
sorry.
and Woodland. Shagwood,
Yeah, Shagwood is.
That's right, okay.
President's on Shagwood. Probably take exception to
But they
that.
are in the special assessment district.
Right, they
Yes.
will be included in
Right.
the reason it's written like that, and again, the council can make adjustments to the language where it feels clarification is needed, but I believe the reason it is written like that is so that there's no, when the report is being prepared, there's no confusion on where the district is and who is included, what residents are included in that district. But again, if you would like to make modifications there, I would just caution that any modifications make it clear that those roads and those residents are included in the special assessment district.
I think what strikes me is that they're included in the special assessment because out of necessity, if they needed a fire truck, an ambulance, a police car, or just guests to get to their house, they have to drive on a public road. So, but I'm a little concerned that we're including them with the roads that will be reconstructed or improved, as opposed to just in the SAD. So to take it that these three additional roads, while not within the scope of road improvement, will be within the special assessment district.
Right. Maybe I'm not, let me think of a way to.
And it won't be one for one. It's not every homeowner on those roads.
We don't know
We haven't decided.
We don't know that.
Right. Okay,
So,
that's-
so that's a very good point. The resolution before you doesn't necessarily direct reconstruction at this time. It just says, this is the SAD district that we're considering. These are the roads that we think are included in this SAD district based on kind of our initial glance at this. Please create plans that will actually show, what roads need to be touched, what homes will be affected, so we can make the determination. We're exactly where you're raising these issues. So we can have the hearing, get feedback from the public, and kind of answer all of the questions that you're raising right now. There's just, at this point, it would be hard to make the determination on public necessity because the report it has not been created
If we
yet.
add one word in one place, it might resolve everything. The proposed improvement, the project, is the road access, comma, reconstruction, comma, and or improvement. So just inserting the word access between the two words road and reconstruction.
Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
How would it read? I guess I'm not following that.
Whereas the proposed improvement, the project, is the road access, comma, reconstruction, comma, and or improvement to the following roads.
Yeah.
It would be access to Woodland, Bingham Court, and Bingham Point on the public road. So we are not gonna do their road, but we are gonna
Give them
do their
access.
access to their roads, which is Bingham Road.
And the way I'm sort of seeing it, I think is more the way you're seeing it. Like, this isn't directing anything about the construction at all, right? Like the whole, we're just telling the people that are going to ultimately do the construction
Yes.
to start the estimate.
Yes.
This isn't saying anything about what roads are gonna be constructed. This is just directing them that these people are in the SAD.
Yes, and so perhaps to address some of the concerns, to make that clear, it could be something like, whereas the proposed improvement, the project, addresses access, reconstruction, and improvement benefiting the following roads.
That's perfect.
If
That's
that's,
perfect.
yeah.
Perfect.
Do we need to add Timber Trail to this?
Timber Trail was removed from the project, as I recall.
It's gonna be made into a walk.
Do we
Yeah.
made into a walkway? But it still needs maintenance to tear it up and create a,
But wasn't that gonna be done by a different grant rather than the
No.
road funds?
we don't know yet.
We haven't even been able to apply for the grant because you can't apply for the grant until you have the plan. So,
Yeah, I guess I wonder why Timber Trail wasn't
Excuse
a good catch, because I think we wanted Timber Trail to go with, sort of like with Bingham Road
Yes,
for grant purposes,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
but the grant is not a for sure.
correct.
Right,
But
but just in
wasn't there
case.
some concern that if we talk about Timber Trail in the wrong context, it hurts our application for the grant? Ken?
Ken?
I don't know.
If we talk about it in the wrong context, it hurts our application.
Yeah, or it hurts us getting the.
I don't.
I recall you saying something to that effect at a previous meeting.
I don't think it has to be added to this.
Okay.
I don't, because this is proposed improvement to the road reconstruction. We're not
Yeah.
improving that road. It's a road.
Yeah.
It's not being improved at all.
That's what I recall.
Hang on a second, we have a public comment.
Kathy Hageman, Bingham Lane. Just there is one house with a Timber Trail address. So I'm not sure how that coincides with what you've had here, because otherwise you may be eliminating that one home that has the Timber Trail address.
Is that house like on the part of Timber Trail that's supposed to remain paved?
Yeah,
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
yeah, you got Hickory Hollow coming out to it, and then,
Is it beyond Hickory Hollow?
Hickory
circle?
Hollow
No.
goes around, and it is just east of that second, the entrance from Hickory Hollow onto Timber Trail.
So it's beyond the circle access. So you,
Well, it's kind of within it, but
yeah,
it's the only house with a Timber Trail address.
yeah.
Timber Trail narrows past that address, past that
Yeah.
house's
right.
driveway.
So because of that house, is that the reason why we need it in here?
That's what I'm suggesting, yes.
Yeah, because otherwise they're not part of the SAD then.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it probably should. Just because I noticed it probably should be in, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. I really liked your language, though. Could you repeat it for me?
Hopefully you wrote it down.
I should have.
Yes.
Let me, do you mind if I borrow your marker?
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely not.
I don't mind. Whereas the proposed improvement, the project, is the, whereas the proposed improvement, the project, is the road reconstruction and/or improvement benefiting the following roads, and then listing
The
The
word
road.
X is
The
for
word
the
access.
access. It's for
Access.
the access.
Yeah, but I like
The road reconstruction and/or the improvement of the following roads.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the word benefit in there too.
Mhm.
And I think we need to add then Timber Trail in there. So you'll have a 10th road.
Uh-huh.
Can you say that again, please?
Whereas the proposed improvement, the project, is the road reconstruction, access, and/or improvement benefiting the following roads: Bingham Lane, from Court, Hickory Hollow, Old Orchard Trail, Shagwood, Bingham Road, Woodline Drive, Bingham Court, Bingham Point Drive, and
Timber Trail.
Timber
Timber
Trail.
Trail.
Okay.
Yeah, I think other than that, everything else looked pretty good.
Did you say road reconstruction access?
Road reconstruction,
Comma.
access.
Okay.
And or
And/or-
improvement benefiting the following roads, and then it's a semicolon listing the roads.
Okay.
You good, Ken?
I am.
All right.
Someone needs to offer the resolution.
I would offer the revised resolution.
And second.
One moment.
And the fact that we have the word benefiting in the third whereas relates nicely to the fourth whereas, where it says, and levy special assessments against benefiting properties. So we're consistent with a public benefit and a necessity.
This is a roll call. Is there any further discussion regarding the resolution?
I like that benefit.
No, roll call.
Blackburn,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
Hedge,
Hi.
Howard,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Craybill, Mashigian.
Aye.
All right. That is approved, or resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're set, right?
Yes.
With what you, okay. Just want to make sure everybody knows the language,
Yes.
so, okay. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Appreciate that. Next is the amendment to stormwater maintenance ordinance, second reading. Ken, could you?
Yeah, so this is a second reading. Last month, this was introduced to you. This amends the ordinance regarding culvert maintenance to add stormwater ditch or swale maintenance as well, requiring homeowners to maintain the stormwater ditches in front of their homes. Again, this is a second reading. There's a suggested motion at the bottom, if you see no issue with this at all, at the bottom of the page. And we're here to answer any questions. Alana has also reviewed this and can answer any legal questions that you may have.
Debbie?
I just, since I wasn't here last month reading through this, I do have a couple questions. I have talked to Lisa, but just to clarify, as of now, the residents on these roads are and have been responsible for cleaning out the debris of the ditches. Is that correct?
The ordinance was silent on that in the past.
The culvert
currently.
under the driveway.
It's only the culvert under the driveway?
The ordinance addresses the culvert. The current ordinance addresses the culvert only, not the ditch.
Okay, have they been maintained by the homeowners?
No.
Well, there's 500
I can answer
homeowners.
that.
I can't answer that
Okay.
for every single homeowner.
Well,
Some have, some
The
have
only
not.
reason I'm asking is because during my walks and all, it doesn't look like
Some
they
have and some
been.
have not.
Okay. If this gets put into place, is there a way that possibly in the newsletter or something sent out to the homes that you could suggest that there be that homeowners clean like in the fall after all the leaves have fallen and maybe in the spring after winter, just to encourage that they
Yes.
actually do this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then how will, if Diane lived on a public road and I purchased her home 3 years from now, how will I as the new homeowner know that I'm now responsible for the for the ditch?
It's a difficult question to answer because we have an ordinance book of approximately 500 pages of ordinances. A homeowner that buys a property in any community in Michigan should probably be aware that there are ordinances that govern what can happen and not happen at that property. So I'm not sure exactly how to answer that.
Only because we're spending so much and going through so much for the new road construction where it was my understanding that the water was a big problem for why the roads are in the shape that they are. And if they're not being maintained, we could possibly get the same
we
situation.
could add something to our resident packets. Reminds people
Right.
that they're responsible for their culverts and their stormwater ditches. That would be something that we could do.
Okay.
But we can't make people read the packet if we only give it to them.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's part of why we wanted to add this. The ditch part is anticipation of the new roads to make sure that we get people on board and used to maintaining those ditches and culverts to try to extend the life of the roads.
Yes.
So, if responsibility is not indicated in the ordinance, who decided that the homeowners are responsible?
Well, this is, who decided to create this in the first place?
No, who decided that since it doesn't give direction, who decided the homeowners are responsible?
You mean, so that, in other words, why is this being proposed at this point in time? Is that what you mean?
Well, it depends on, the totality of what's being proposed. You're talking about ditch, culvert, because the culvert under the road,
Culvert has always been there, always been part of the homeowner responsibility.
under the driveway, but not under the road.
Right. Yes.
Under the road.
Oh.
Not under the road.
No,
Under the road is the services that are provided, professional services to clean that out.
Yes.
But I'm saying, nobody is, and after 45 years of living here, nobody has told me that I'm responsible until now for ditches. I have never been responsible for cleaning up the ditches.
You weren't, because there wasn't an ordinance till
Yeah.
now.
So
Right.
the other
It was
problem,
silent.
though, is that these don't just appear. These are engineered properties. And according to the surveyor and engineer that did my property surveys, I've had 2 done. And he showed me the decline in elevation just in the front of my home. And then how it goes next door to the Coons, the Doties, the Parambos, and so forth, until it comes to the little tributary. It's an 8-foot drop. So any one of us, just to get out and arbitrarily start clearing and digging, is going to mess with that engineered property.
Well, we're not asking anybody to dig
Well,
and
but
create.
in my property, it does have to be dug out. My neighbor across the street had to dig his out. The guy in the corner had to dig it out because the water was running under the grass and it's pooled all summer. I don't know what I'm gonna do because it never dries. So the grass is up this long and it looks horrible. Plus I've got all these mosquitoes around this year like I've never had. So I think we need to rethink and possibly consult with our engineers about allowing residents to determine the elevation and runoff. We're talking about a healthy runoff. And I have stagnant water in front of my home. It's not running off.
I feel like we're talking about 2 different things here.
If the stormwater ditches are properly maintained, the water would be running and you wouldn't be having the
And
pool.
properly maintained is not a definition of what needs to be done. I mean, I don't know what is proper.
well, isn't it gonna be done with the redoing of all the roads?
Yes.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
proper leveling and everything will be done with the road. That's the idea I got with the road
So it's not the
construction.
homeowners that are going to do that.
No, that'll be
Because
done by
that's
the
what-
The
road.
road reconstruction elements?
No, the idea of getting the ditches properly excavated so that the water runs off and is not standing. And that I don't know what to call it, the tilt, the angle of runoff is what the engineer designed it to be.
However, this was designed 45 years ago, or whenever it was, when it was first put in. It's changed over time. Ditches fill in, silt, right? So when the road is reconstructed, so will your drainage ditches be reconstructed. And that would
Yeah, that's what
presumably,
I'm asking for.
yes,
Yeah,
that would happen.
that's part of,
But in the meantime, if people could remove leaves and weeds and branches and other things and maybe clear out the silt before it gets too deep and makes that ditch even shallower, I think that's all we're asking. That's all this ordinance is really asking people to do. And this is frankly, this is very common in a lot of other communities. It's the responsibility of the homeowner to maintain that right-of-way element.
Yeah, well, I don't see it happening. I've got one neighbor that will.
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see the other neighbors actually.
Well, I don't want to talk
So-
specifically about neighbors.
No, I'm
publicly.
not saying anybody specific.
You said
I'm
neighbors,
just saying,
and you've
this is
mentioned
an
neighbors' names.
observation.
So I'm just saying, if we have an ordinance, we can then use our ordinance officer to contact residents and ask them to follow the ordinance. And if they don't follow the ordinance, now there will be a mechanism to require them to follow the ordinance.
Why wouldn't we just include maintenance of ditches by the village? Why are we changing that now? Why are we calling out that it's gonna be the residents?
The village has never had, I'm sorry, do you have something to say?
Yeah, so the ordinance is silent, so that doesn't mean that the village was doing it. In fact, no one was doing it. So, in most other communities, I can certainly speak for the communities that I represent, the culverts and ditches go hand in hand. So for some reason, we're not sure why, Bingham Farms only specifically mentioned the culverts. There's an argument to be made that residents have not been maintaining either the culverts or the ditches. And it has led to some significant problems with drainage and with your roads. So all this is doing is making sure that you guys are putting a tremendous amount of effort and money to make sure that your community's roads get back to baseline. You're making tremendous improvements throughout your community. And this makes it clear that residents are expected to maintain the culverts and the ditches on their property, which is a baseline standard throughout most of the surrounding communities. And you're correct, maybe it hasn't necessarily been done, and I think there's some evidence for that.
Right.
But this gives the village the tools it needs to ensure that moving forward, residents are at least clear on the expectations, and that it gives enforcement tools. So if someone doesn't know, they can be informed that actually it does say culverts and ditches need to be maintained. And if someone continues to not do it, the village can kind of make those corrections and then not incur the cost, if that makes sense. So we're just trying
to save money for the village
It certainly
No.
would.
and not have to cover it anymore?
But we're not
We're
covering
not
it
covering
now.
it now.
We're not doing it now.
Well, they do. They came out and did some work on my neighbors.
That was part of the sewer jetting of the cross culvert that goes underneath the road as well. So there's a cross culvert right in front of your house or near your home, goes from one side to the other, carries water, and that needed to be cleared out very recently. And they may have done some extra stuff to kind of make sure that it flows, but the main assignment of that was that the road cross culvert.
So that is village maintenance.
Yes, right. Anything that runs under the road.
Is village, yeah.
Right.
this is making sure that the private maintenance of the private culverts and the private ditches, making it clear that those are the responsibilities of the homeowners, which is what it is in most other communities here. That clarifying language is in others' ordinances. So there's an argument to say that it's always been the homeowner's responsibility. There was just an oversight in
Except
language.
it was never stated that way.
That's correct. So we're now
You can't really say it's
clarifying.
always been the homeowner's responsibility if it was never stated that way.
True. It was stated that the culverts are the owner's responsibility. Typically, that goes hand in hand. This is patching a gap to make sure that it's now clear whose responsibility those private culverts and ditches are. So that was how this kind of originated.
Okay, well, I can see why it's important for cost savings for the village. And, okay.
I would refer to the bullet points on the memo, that there's several good reasons for why this should be done.
So there is a suggested motion. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I don't have it in front of me, but I will so move
Does anybody have it in front of them to read? I can do it.
I do. I
Okay,
do.
go ahead. On behalf
So,
of trustee Hageman.
on behalf of trustee Hageman, I move to approve ordinance amendment section 96.011 culvert and stormwater ditch maintenance as presented.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I do a roll call on this?
Yeah, sure. Blackburn,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
Hedge,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Michigan.
I'm gonna say no.
All right, that's 5-1, still passes.
Since this does have a dramatic effect on a lot of people's practices, how are we gonna communicate this?
What's the question? Sorry?
How are we gonna communicate this?
We're gonna be writing something that's gonna go to everybody, every homeowner, not private homeowners, but public homeowners, or homeowners on public streets, let's put it that
Okay.
way.
So it'll be a separate mailing, it won't be just a newsletter?
Well, I'll put it in a newsletter as well, but
As
we're
well,
definitely gonna
okay.
do a separate.
But it will be
mailing.
a separate mailing, that's terrific, thank you.
And our main concern will be, I mean, not to discourage anybody from doing it today, but we're really trying to prevent any damage to our new roads. So that's gonna be our focus. So in the approval of the agenda, I had added the mobile watch signage. I had heard some concern that was brought up during the mobile watch meeting. And so I just want to clarify one more time that our intention is that when the roads are redone, section by section, that we will be adding new signage to the village. So it will be, so the mobile watch signage will be part of that overall plan. And so, I don't want to say unfortunately, but that comes at the end of each project. So when we do, say, SAD 1, after the roads are done, the signage will be put in for obvious reasons. And so the mobile watch signs will be, new mobile watch signs will be put up at that time. They will all coordinate and look the same and be fresh and new. And they will, again, be part of the village's overall signage plan. We haven't spent a ton of time on that yet because we're just in the infant stage of this project, and that is kind of very much toward the end of the project. I think I specifically asked the engineers multiple times to include some verbiage about signage in the proposal, just to make sure that it was part of the overall plan. But not a lot of time and energy, which we didn't want them to spend a lot of time and energy on signage, because again, that's so far into the future. So at the end of the project, or toward the end of the project, we will have more conversations about signage. But our intention is to have all the signage sort of match in the village, including the mobile watch signs.
And so will the mobile watch, the Bingham Farms is the one that was especially interested in, will they have any say in what the sign, I mean, I know Franklin has Franklin on it or of some sort, but I think we were understanding we just wanted it plain, sort of like it is now. But anyway, will we have a say in how the sign looks or see a picture of it or something prior to it being on?
I don't want to speak for what's going to happen. I mean,
Okay.
I don't even know if any of us will be sitting here at the time,
Right,
so
that's
I don't want to you know,
Okay,
commit. But I can't imagine that conversation wouldn't happen.
okay,
Personally, I can't imagine that there wouldn't be some conversation with Mobile Watch.
okay.
And it would definitely be on the agenda, so
Right.
Mobile Watch would for sure be invited to come and speak to it. So I know there was a cost estimate in there for some stop signs, I believe was what the cost estimate was for. Ken and I Googled cost of stop signs, and that dollar amount was pretty much in the middle of what was Googled. I don't know if we'll end up with those stop signs or not. But again, I think it was just more of an intention of our engineers to remember that we want signage to be included in our proposal. Are there any questions on that? Concerns? Yes.
Joe Lavity, 23060 Sager Court. Back on April 19th of 2020, Ken committed at that point in time to the replacement of mobile watch signs. And those signs were basically consistent with Officer Bonakarski at that point in time, January 18th of 2021, in terms of replacing the signs. And that has been delayed, ignored, whatever terminology you want to use, up to now, and will continue to be until the roads are constructed in 2025 and therefore afterwards. So I think based on the company that Chief Roberts used in terms of Econo signs in Franklin, and the estimate, which was in the neighborhood at that point in time, and going back 4 years, was a little over $2,000 for all the signs. The village needs to upgrade the current signs, whether it be the mobile watch signs, or there's a number of stop signs, no entry kinds of signs that are in very poor condition at this point in time and don't do anything for our village. So I'd like to see something done rather than waiting for another 1, 2, X number of years. And based on the information that the police have given us and the commitment that was made back on April 19th of 2020.
I will speak to that. I know that there have been multiple conversations with Karen Dietrich after that date. I know I have a note in my mobile watch thing. Ken spoke to her in March of 2023. I also spoke to her myself. And I talked to her about, because it was my understanding Mobile Watch was going to purchase the signs, and I said,
never was.
Would you, according to her it was, and I said, would you like to just have the village do it? We can make it part of the overall signage plan when the roads are done. And she said yes.
Yeah, much like yourself being new to the council, Karen was also new. And on April 11th of 2022, 2 years after the initial conversation, Ken again committed to the mobile watch signs being replaced at village expense. I just wanted to have the number of signs and an estimate from Econo Signs in terms of what that number was. And the work was going to be done by the Beverly Hills DPW, who was going to handle the installation.
Correct. And since then, we've had multiple conversations about the roads. In my opinion, it would be a waste of resident money and village money to put new signage up because it's going to come down. And who knows what's going to happen to it as the roads are being built. Because the signs don't stay up when they're digging up the roads. Those signs will be taken down. And there's a cost to take the signs down, and there's a cost to be put the signs back up. And so I believe some of these conversations happened before we really got our wheels spinning on the road, forgive my pun, on the road project. And so in between some of these conversations, it's been decided that the signage will be part of our project, but it'll be done at the end of the project because that's the most fiscally responsible thing to do. So it's not just mobile watch signs. Our stop signs are terrible. The road ends, dead end sign that was just hit on Bristol is terrible. Basically, our street signs are terrible. But we're not going to replace all of that stuff and then trash it.
And some of those signs have been replaced in the last couple of months, predominantly stop signs that are on Bingham Road There's been some selective. Other signs have been ignored. So if we can afford to replace stop signs with reflective signs that are easy to read, we should at least be able to do that with dead-end roads or whatever the case may be. And I'm not even talking about mobile watch signs. I'm talking about, specifically stop signs. And you take a look at the stop sign that's on the Bristol Lane and 13 Mile, that is an embarrassment to anybody that uses that road. And I would think that Don Vogren, who does his, ordinance kinds of things, and based on what Chief Roberts told me about 3 weeks ago, that was supposedly being handled. So if handling it means to ignore it for a couple of years, then, that's somebody else's decision.
Okay, I'm sorry. I took public comment as a courtesy, so we're not gonna have a back and forth at this point. Council can decide to discuss this at a later date. It's not an agenda item, this type of discussion for tonight. I'm the one that puts the signs in the thing because I can't stand the signs. They look terrible. But to me, it doesn't make sense to buy all new signs. I mean, the stop signs are multiple hundreds of dollars. To take them down and then store them somewhere, who knows what's going to happen to them, and then pay to put them back up. I would rather pay one time than 2 times, especially when I'm talking about somebody else's money. But if we want to put that on a future agenda and talk about buying new signs in preparation of, for maybe a 2-year span, we can talk about that. But the signs that are up are probably been up for 40 years. I don't see why waiting 2 more years would be a problem. Because again, I don't know what's going to happen to brand new signs. It would be in the thousands of dollars. Stop signs are not cheap. And we don't get to pick the stop signs. And then we pay to have them, the ground level, the cement poured, the pole put in, they come back, they go, it's a multiple day project that'll cost a lot of money. Do we want this on a future agenda?
Yeah, it would be a bad idea.
You said, I'm sorry, there are requirements for the stop signs, the size, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So once we know the size, then we can select the sign we want?
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that
I would
right
think
now.
on public roads, I would think, there's standards that have to be met.
Sure.
We can't just.
And we want that standard throughout the village.
Which is why I'm saying it's gonna be an overall plan, so everything is matching and looking new and fresh,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the stop sign at the end of one
Yeah,
street
Karen
is
did
the
an
same as
inventory.
the stop sign. Right, I know, I have
Of
that
every
here.
sign.
Right,
Yeah.
I have that here. So I just, I envision it being an overall plan for the village, not this one's here, this one's new there. We got this one this year and it looks like this, and then we got that one or whatever.
While an overall plan is good, if there is something that a person cannot read that as a stop sign, and that could cause some hazard to traffic, we've got a duty to make sure that we keep our roads safe from accidents. So I think, we have to maybe take a better look at if there are some signs that just aren't going to make it 2 years without putting people at harm's way, we need to take action.
Absolutely, and I feel our police department would inform us, as well as our ordinance officer, if there was a safety concern.
Okay.
I've looked very closely at every sign in the village. I don't see any signs that you wouldn't recognize the fact that you have to stop or yield or the name of a street or anything like that.
Okay.
So we want this to be a future agenda item?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, something just to look a little bit more into it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't even know we had that much of a problem with signs, so.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a problem with signs, it's just a process. I didn't want to put it on,
Yeah.
I mean, we've had our plates very, very full and our minds very, very full with just
Yeah.
getting to the point we are today with the roads.
Yeah. And it is in the budget for all the roads.
Yes,
There is a special line item for signage.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But again, I think that line item was almost, I don't know if the right word would be placeholder, but I was very specific that I wanted to make sure the signage was replaced, especially after my conversation with Mobile Watch. And so I think it says, it's like 2 signs, it says $600 a sign or something like that. That's not like, there's not a lot of research put into that. It's
No.
just, because I think that's for 2 stop signs, but there's a lot of signs in between those 2 stop signs that will also have to be looked at in the future. I just think that's almost a big project in and of itself that is going to be at the end of our project, and I'm trying not to overwhelm everybody.
And then keep everything uniform.
Right. Right. But we can put it on. We'll put it on.
Yeah.
Moving to the treasurer's report. Bill?
Good evening. So item number 9, the treasurer's report. This month, there's 2 subsections or 2 sections underneath 9. Approve the August bills for 2024 is the first motion. Check disbursements from July 20th, 2024 through August 26th, 2024. Dispersed out of the general fund, $197,127.15. Under the gas and weight fund, check disbursements for the same time frame was $6,030.00 for a total being dispersed of $203,157.15. Again, for that time period, July 20th, 24 through August 26, 24. Details are in your package. If there's any questions regarding the expenses, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions or a motion to approve the August 2024 bills?
I make a motion to approve the August 2024 bills.
I will support that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Good. Second item B, accept the financial statements for July 2024. Motion, the packet again is, or the data is, again, the reports are in your packet. Since it is for July, we start with a brand new clean slate as a fiscal year. So pretty much if you look through it, again, we're starting out as the first month within the new fiscal year. I always go back and track against what we did last year, even though the budget numbers of what we approved last year to this year, and we're tracking basically the same as far as both revenue and expenses for each of the sub account line items. If there's any questions regarding the portion for the revenue and expenditure report, again, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, I can move on to finish up the motion, I can move on to the investments for July 2024. Under the investment section, you'll see as it's detailed out again, general fund versus the road fund. Everything is outlined there. I will call out the notice under the first line item under general, the local government investment pool. That one was reduced because funds were moved over at the end of or at the beginning of the end of last fiscal year in order to meet the daily requirements and obligations to make payments. But now as we are collecting tax revenues, obviously, those investments will be changing and growing as well. There's a couple of also that have was expired. Some of them have renewed, mostly to the fact of MBS, which is our multi-bank security accounts. Again, the interest rates we're seeing, the Fed's going to be meeting in September. They've held fairly close to what we've had, We start seeing a little bit of reduction as I look at it every day, because banks will send me what the new rates are once a week, actually. They send it off to me. So we're starting to see a little bit of reduction in it. I positioned ourselves in order to take advantage of some CDs that have expired, that we've extended for a year at 5%, which is exceptionally good rate based upon what we think may happen. And if not, at least we're locked in at that rate for at least another 12 months. Other than that, if there's any questions that I can answer about the investments, I'd be more than happy to do so. I will let council know that I have been looking into other investment vehicles. It will be in next month's treasurer's report, where we've done something called insured cash sweeps, where we're able to benefit our interest rate of what we're getting on our funds that we hold in our general and road accounts with our normal bank. And I'll outline that for council in next month. But if there's any questions related to July 2024's investments, again, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
Are there questions or a motion to accept the financial statements for July 2024 as presented?
I will move that we accept financial statements for 2024 for July,
Is there a
or
second?
August and July, I should say.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is trustee comments.
No comment.
No comments?
I'm good.
Nope, no comment.
No comment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Meeting adjourned at 8:46 PM.